What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of The Voice of Reason. As you can see, we have Liz back in the house. We have her back here for a very special reason. Actually, she came to us with this episode, but we thought you guys know we talk about education quite a bit on this show, and hopefully, this show proves to everybody that we are not dealing with this administration for just 4 years. Okay, they are quite literally trying to go after our youth and indoctrinate them into Turning Point USA slash PragerU as the new norm of education. We are not kidding. They are using the death of Charlie Kirk to quietly, while everybody's distracted and talking about how amazing a person Charlie Kirk was, which if we have some quotes to obviously prove that wrong, they are quietly using the momentum and the public support to sneak Turning Point USA material into public education. We are not kidding. Okay, this is white Christian nationalist, let's say it, Nazism. And this is how you control a country indefinitely. You have to get your hands on people that are still learning.
And if you can think of PragerU as the curriculum that is supplanting actual educational curriculum, Turning Point is the logistics behind getting into the education system at all levels and really fundamentally reshaping what our education system is supposed to do.
And this is
not just for good reason.
Right, this is not just them trying to sneak a Bible here and and the 10 Commandments on the walls. This is full blown reordering how our youth learns and what they learn. We saw on PragerU videos where they try to explain, we can't hold slavery against us. It was normal for the times. How could you possibly?
Well, these are the people getting that into the schools. That's what we're talking about today.
So, Liz, break it down for us real quick what we are going to expect to learn on this episode.
Well, hopefully a lot. I've done a really big dive into Turning Point USA, which is quote unquote Charlie Kirk's movement across the country.
Oh, it's a movement.
What I've found is pretty alarming because it's not as it is being presented. And so that's what I'm hoping to share tonight. And just, maybe open some people's eyes that this might not be the best thing. It sounds great at face value, right? Who doesn't love America? Who doesn't love the family? Who doesn't love, the flag?
Traditional American values.
And also,
is the term they like to use.
They still control the narrative. They are making it sound like they are the reasonable ones by protecting education and free speech and patriotism. And they're using those words that they've co-opted, or I honestly should be saying stole, to put their political narrative, their political ideology into the classroom, where most Americans can agree that there is a baseline, an educational standard that we must achieve to have competitive, happy citizens and compete on the world stage. Turning Point is more focused on bringing the focus away from what we learn in history and trying to reshape our understanding of this country into what they want people to believe it is moving forward. So they're not worried about what we're learning from the past. In fact, they don't want to teach the past. They want to rewrite it. And that's what the heart of what Liz is getting at is they're telling you that they're here to be a bulwark of education. And in reality, they're not. They're a sinister organization that's trying to basically brainwash kids.
And they're presenting themselves as an opportunity for kids to go in, to debate, to discuss
leadership
back and forth. But what I will present tonight is that that's not what their mission is.
Not at all.
So basically, I want to lay it out first that I think that the murder of Charlie Kirk is absolutely horrific. I saw it, just like, the most of the country saw it at this point. That should never happen in our country or anywhere.
I agree.
And I do not have any intentions of defaming Charlie Kirk in any way, shape, or form tonight as a human being.
I
don't think that he's not. Yeah, Jeremy. I don't think that he is a good-hearted person, but that's maybe differences of opinion, and we're allowed to have that in this country. But what my concern
I just
is that there is this action happening, unfolding right before our eyes to push something into our schools that people don't understand what's
mhm,
going on. So
right.
that's why,
If they can pull this off, segregation is not far around the corner. And we
well,
said
there's
that
a
from
lot
the
of
beginning.
things.
Segregation is the point. They want to
Mhm.
resegregate
And
America.
and really, if you are a disciple of Charlie Kirk, you would know that his message is one of bringing down the number of rights that certain Americans have, whether it be people of African descent, women,
Women.
Yeah, he
LGBTQ
hated
community.
women. He
Okay,
hated
he is
women.
someone who would surface level appear to be one of those crazy incels, somehow married his wife,
Miss
and
Arizona.
his legacy is secured. And I think the part that's the scariest is there's this legacy that doesn't exist,
Mhm.
that the right is trying to build around Charlie Kirk, and they're using that to pretend that he's some civil rights icon, and that's why his face should be the face of American education moving forward.
I
And
Well,
just
that's
and
the
that's
think,
what
thing
I
that's
hope to
terrifying.
expose, that
yeah,
So
I,
yeah,
that's not the case.
Jen.
So
well, I was gonna say I still think that the MAGA is so upset because they were grooming him to be president one day. Um, Donald Trump is gonna die. Mm,
At some
Donald
point.
Trump's gonna die eventually. I had to hold my tongue there for a
we all
second.
are.
JD Vance has a charisma of like a wet rag, and they need somebody to control the mob because let's not forget, MAGA is a violent religious extremist cult. And the only person I know of that could control the hearts and minds of these lunatics,
Might have been
other
Charlie
than
Kirk.
Donald Trump, is Charlie freaking Kirk. So I have a feeling that eventually we would have seen him be president one
Yeah,
day. They
or
were
at
quite
least in
literally
political
propping him up
office.
and
Yeah.
grooming
At least
him
in
to
political
be
office,
right.
Yeah,
definitely.
at least political
He
office.
would have had
For
a
I'm
sure.
position
surprised
of
he didn't get
influence.
an appointment actually in the Trump administration, but he
Wasn't
had a
ready.
role to serve, and
Mhm.
I hopefully can, shed some light
Yep.
on what that role is
So
and how it came to be.
as right before we let you, Liz, take off today, because we're going to let Liz drive a lot today because she did the research, and this is obviously right in the heart of the things
Mhm.
that she loves the most. So I just want to present a little quote, and then I'm going to hand it off to Liz because I think it exemplifies the struggle that we're seeing right now. The secret of freedom lies in educating people, whereas the secret of tyranny is in keeping them ignorant.
Can I say one of my favorite quotes?
Yes.
Can I please? It's actually by George Orwell, of all people.
Okay.
In an age of universal deceit, telling the truth is a revolutionary
There
act.
you go.
I love that quote, and I feel like it applies to what we do because we have to shed some truth on what's really happening. Because they want to, they're trying to propagandize this to target the youth. That's what whole Charlie Kirk's entire his entire spiel was. They targeted white young men. His wife even said it at the memorial. Charlie
She
Kirk
called them the Lost
targeted
Boys.
right.
The Lost Boys. Mhm.
They were looking
Now,
for
I
the
will
white
say-
army.
I will say that is a gap within our society that we do need to fill. So they
It-
rushed in to fill a vacuum. I have a young white boy, so
Me
I
too.
know that he has taught me a whole lot. And yes, we have left them kind of out in the breeze with them not knowing where they fit into a society. So things like this, things like, your video games, everything else, rush in to fill a void.
Yep.
Right.
And that's what
so-
this turning point is about. They're not filling a void in the education system. They're filling a perceived lacking in the education system as they tell the story.
Well, in
Right.
society as a whole,
Yeah.
these kids are floundering, and so they're looking for a belonging, and that's what this whole movement has given them. So I think it is on us to make sure that people know exactly what it is that they're actually belonging to. It's very similar to what I've been saying now since 2022 of what Moms for Liberty is. It is a
Right.
false front, and people don't know what they're actually involved in many cases.
Right.
But we're talking billionaires are pushing these things. And so, I want to lay out some
So
of that
let's get
tonight.
into it.
Okay.
What kind of, it's funny you say that though, but just real quick, Liz, and I'll let you guys
Yep.
run with it. There is no progressive equivalent to Charlie Kirk. or Turning
No.
Point USA. There is none.
No, there isn't.
The Unfuck America tour, excuse my language, Liz. I don't know why I always have to apologize when I
I
curse. in front
know.
of you. I feel obligated. That is not deep progress. That is just MAGA in sheep's clothing.
And also, don't forget, the Midas Touch isn't them. People like Farron Cousins isn't, because they're independent media outlets.
And they're all lawyers and like people that are educated.
Well, I would like it if our side had a lawyer being that magnanimous type of personality.
It would be nice if we had a polarizing personality on our side. We have like a Hassan Piker, who I think is a great example of that.
Honestly, I think the left is too afraid to take the gloves off, but that's another discussion.
I agree with that. I agree. That's another episode altogether.
It is a whole episode.
That we should do.
I'm very, very upset with the Democrats right now because
Yes.
they did approve a Charlie Kirk Day.
Yep.
Right?
So
Come on now.
after doing this research,
They're afraid.
Come
They're
on.
afraid.
I hope that some people will be as appalled by that action as I
They're
am.
cowards.
So,
All right,
so
let's go.
let's look at where Turning Point came from. It's being presented as this genius kid came out of nowhere and had this brilliant idea to reach out to other kids, to inform them, to give them the opportunity for dialogue and so forth.
I like how the genius kid is a college
Well,
dropout.
Well, he actually did start at college. And a gentleman who was part of the Tea Party, this was in 2012.
Oh, God.
And I will refer to some notes throughout this so that I'm giving you accurate information.
Party.
The Tea Party, this gentleman's name was Bill Montgomery. He became the founder, the treasurer, and the strategist for Turning Point. Turning Point was not Charlie's. It isn't something that he came up with.
That's interesting. I didn't realize that.
Yeah. So he didn't scrape together seed money like every other movement across the country does.
It was handed to him.
His first job was to go to the Republican National Convention in Tampa, Florida in 2012. And he was able to secure people like Foster Freeze as donors, a future governor of Illinois. His name is Bruce Rauner, and the DeVos family. Yes, you heard that right.
No.
The DeVos and Betsy DeVos. So they had some pretty deep pockets from the very beginning. So this was not a grassroots, self-made man type situation.
Which they pretend all of their success is due to a grassroots upswell.
Correct.
And it's
just like Moms for Liberty
that.
says the same thing. And they haven't been grassroots since the beginning.
Talk about funded psyops.
So interesting stuff in 2016. So it started out in 2012. That was when the idea came to this Tea Party guy of, geez, we really need to get some Republican thinking and ideals into the college level. So it started at the college level. So by 2012, they went from about $50,000 to over $5 million. They were being funded by the Koch network, which a lot of your folks might already know about. And several Republican foundations. And at this point in time, they're pulling over $80 million.
Jesus, you had me like throwing up, Liz.
Mm-hmm. So
how do you go from worth 50? Well, obviously corrupt money, dark money.
50,000 to 5 million
Within a year.
Within a year.
The great right hand drops a bag of cash off.
Mm-hmm. So,
man,
side note, just for interesting things that I dug out. Jenny Thomas, the wife of the Supreme Court Justice, was an advisor as it was starting out. And we know some of her connections and things that she's been involved in. So the truth is that Turning Point was not Charlie Kirk's ideas, and it was manufactured by billionaires who wanted to get into college age people. So they wanted a spokesperson. They found Charlie, and it was to infiltrate campuses, to bring Republican ideas. And now the push, and why I'm so really involved in this as an issue, is that they're trying to do the same thing onto our high school campuses. And I hate to say it, but
they're going down the grades.
They are, and the push at high schools means that those are, to most respects, minors. There are some 18-year-olds, but they are minors. Yeah. So
we refer to the kids in high school as kids for a reason.
Yeah.
Yeah, really. And it's not that they're not equipped to be involved in things. That's not what I'm saying.
No.
Kids are geniuses, and they're way smarter than I ever was when I was, high school.
Oh, yeah.
Your
level.
argument is they should be in charge of things.
I see Addison's on in your comments. I mean, she's freaking smarter than me at 10 years old than I was, or 11.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, he was not a self-made man, which is what it's being presented as.
Mhm.
I watched the entire memorial service, and I think a lot of the things that I have discovered were not really what was being presented that night. Yes, he seemed to be preaching a lot, and, that's perfectly fine. This is the U.S. Good for him that he was doing that. But this is not what people are thinking, that it's a biblical approach to, sorry, my house is making weird noises. This is a biblical approach to, bringing learning into schools. There's a lot more involved in it. And when they come out and they say things like Club America, which is their high school component of Turning Point, that they do not associate with any political party. And I've now given you the background of they actually came from a political party. And I will share that in my research, I found one of the things that they do for these high schoolers is they bring them yearly to a training, kind of like a conference. And in 2025, here were the speakers at their conference: Tucker Carlson, Trump Jr., Tom Homan,
Republican,
Kristi Noem, Pete Hegseth,
Republican,
and others. So that in and of itself should give people a red flag that they're saying that they're not a Republican club being pushed into schools when all of the evidence refutes that.
But not even they're not even Republicans. They're far right Republicans, like all of those people.
Yes.
And I think
but
what
the statement itself is false.
Now we know if this was immediately flipped opposite and there was some sort of, conference and it had AOC and, Pete Buttigieg and, Cory Booker.
Yeah, that's like saying, we're not connected to the Democrats. The evidence is there.
Yeah. I mean,
so
the
I would have more respect if they just simply said, we are a Republican push.
Exactly.
I don't like that it's being presented as something other than that. They literally on their website say that they are non-political.
And that's the problem is they're making it political by lying about it because now we get to talk about it.
And they also have two statuses. They have a 501c3, which does a lot of their work, but they also have a 501c4, and that allows them to be involved in politics. That's actually the path that Moms for Liberty also took. There are two different statuses that you can take with the IRS. Yep, you can have that 501c4, which does allow you to be
If
connected.
they were both,
they have both. You can have both.
So does because what you do is
Moms for Liberty does too.
Yeah, you start
that doesn't
a group,
make any sense.
You file for one, and then you file for another, and then you just say they're doing different things.
Well, and you have to have like a catchy little name, like Moms for Liberty is a 501c3. Moms for Liberty Foundation is a 501c4.
So they just
That's why they have
Turning
Point
title.
USA. They have
so there's Turning
Action.
Point, and then they have Turning Point Action.
Yeah, exactly.
So one of them can be involved in politics, the other one cannot. Although I'm not really sure they keep that distinction. It is
but
really
even if they do keep the distinction, I'm going to use a word here a phrase that seems to have lost its meaning: conflict of interest. You can't be a non-political entity and have a charity organization specifically allowing you to be a political entity. Even if you say those things are separate from what you do, the conflict of interest is already there. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But hey, what do I know?
So I have a dear friend. Hopefully she's listening tonight too. And her opinion was that Turning Point USA is about family and faith and
white families,
learning. And I'm actually in support of all of those things. But I just want people to understand that this is not the push for that. No. This is a push for the Republican agenda, which is political, and it's being touted as something different. They have Democratic clubs at high schools. They have Republican,
of course,
the young Republicans.
Yep.
So why is this coming in under this, hooded message of we're all about faith and family and,
It's because
make
if
America great again.
Right. If they said, "Hey, look at all this Nazi propaganda. We're going to feed your kids," it would probably cause a bit of an uproar. I'm guessing. So they have to put a pretty bow tie on it and say, everybody's about family. Like, no political parties out there like the Trump administration is out there ripping families apart, but they go around saying we're the party of families. You know what I mean?
Well, it's the same thing that got them where they are. They use religion to get the sympathy, and a lot of people stop their inquiry into things when they believe it is coming from a religious place.
I can't stand this Christianity
and
thing,
you know what?
Not Christian.
I'm
sorry,
but again, we have religious clubs in our schools.
Yes.
All right,
and they're honest about it up front. And so that's my complaint about this, is that the honesty is not there for something that people would be giving these folks access to their children about.
But the faith part of it.
Go ahead,
Mike. Oh, I was going to say just that. Sorry. I was like, like, I lost where I was going with that. Go ahead, Mike.
I have a comment, Liz, on Instagram by Sketchbook Audio. How was Charlie Kirk able to do what he did at so many colleges?
Money.
Yeah.
I just explained that he was able to, either pay fees or make the appointments. I mean, this is what he was spending his career as, a mouthpiece to go out to college campuses.
Well, they make a donation to the college. I mean,
who knows?
Whatever it is.
Colleges typically are places for freedom of speech, so I don't think it's wrong that he went to college campuses.
No,
I think it's perfectly
fine to do that, because if you actually watch the videos that aren't edited, this guy who's a college dropout goes to debate kids that are barely of legal age. They're in their first, second year of college, okay, and he's trying to debate them, and they kick his butt every time. So the unedited versions, he's not winning the argument, but he's only doing it for the photo op. He's only doing it to put that video clip together so that he could use that to more donors. So donors will give him more money to go to more college campuses.
And
it's all about money and influence.
As an educator, I'm not as concerned because most college kids are 18. Some might be 17 still, but most are 18. So they're considered to be adults. And that's part of their learning process, right? Is to go and have debates. But my fear is that we are just opening the door from our public school system and saying, sure, come on in because it sounds so great.
Yep.
Right.
And what I'm telling you is it's not exactly as they're presenting it. No. And I'm not saying that they're out to do harm. I'm not really saying that. What I'm saying is I don't like dishonesty in anything that has anything to do with children. And this is what I'm feeling from this organization. So I went over their background. That, their founding steps are not being present honestly. They're not being said that, he went to the Republican convention to get this kicked off financially. They don't talk about those things. They talk about, he's a great, person to bring people together. Not really, if that was the background.
Quick question, Liz. Brina asked, are they doing this in online schools? Addison, who's in online school right now, said she hasn't seen any of this yet. Did any of that come up in your investigation?
Are they doing what? Trying to get clubs?
Get into online schools. Yeah. How does that work with clubs?
I have not seen, most online schools are through a district or through a state.
So the
and I haven't seen the push there. However,
they are offering the free home school kits or whatever.
They do have that. And they also have something that's called, I can't remember the name of it. I didn't write it down, but it's like a community initiative. Yeah. So it's not necessarily a club at a school. It's a community club. And it would just require, a sponsor of that to move forward. And it's just, I don't know. So let me continue on with some of this other stuff that I found.
Let's go.
It was really disheartening actually to do all this research, but my concern obviously after being a classroom teacher is, okay, what does that actually mean for what they're going to do when they're in these clubs? I have found up to a point I was able to access a lot of their materials, but then I think you actually have to go and, sign up for stuff, and I wasn't going to do that. But I found things like members, in order to join, had to show that they were in good standing with the national. What does that mean? We're talking about high school kids having to be in
that means
good
they don't
standing?
post what? Social media? What is good stand? That's not a thing. You shouldn't have standing as a kid.
They must be going through the kids and, using their little tech things.
Great. We got a bunch of adults trolling kids' social media to look for approved messaging.
Yes.
They'll be surprised.
And so, there's so many red flags on this. They're saying, start up a club. So immediately after Charlie's death, inclusive of his wife, that was the big push, is that we're going to put Turning Point clubs in every high school across America. And again, I want to really limit my concern to the high school level, just because of their age. And the millions has poured in to do just that. So when these clubs are established, let's look at some of the things that these kids would actually see being part of these clubs. Mike, I think you've got some examples of some of their materials.
So we have a Second Amendment kit.
Yes.
And we have a
Arm
USA kit, how to embrace patriotism and America's borders. And an Israel kit, flags of fellowship.
Which I find ironic, though, because at the end, Charlie Kirk was speaking against Israel. There's even wide-range reports that he was offered a crap load of money from Israel and turned it down. So I find it kind of weird.
And these kits are just what's still on their website. So, I think we're going to see some changes within Turning Point, not necessarily for the better or worse, really, but I think some of that stuff will be changed here moving forward, because of the things that he was starting to expose. He didn't have enough time to expose things like he really wanted to have the Epstein files exposed. Coincidence? I don't know. I'm not going to go down that path with you, but he was pushing for that. So I would think that maybe the support of Trump from Turning Point may change a little bit. I don't know. If their so-called leader that they love so much was saying, hey, something's funky here, you would think that their membership would, keep looking at it. But
Donald Trump has already forgotten about Charlie Kirk.
I don't think he knew who he was.
He is barely even talking about him now. He didn't mention him once today, I don't think.
So, that's just some of the examples of what you would see in these clubs. My concern is that clubs typically, after having had a kid that went to high school and high school myself and knowing a lot of high school instructors, are that a kid gets the motivation to do something, be it, a hockey club, be it a knitting club, be it whatever it is, right?
It
comes from the kid. And the kid then seeks out within that high school setting a person that would sponsor their club. But this is a little different. This is a national organization directing, probably funding, although I haven't proven that yet, and really guiding what happens in a club in a high school. That's very far removed from kids running a club, in my estimation, anyway.
Right.
If they have to, sign pledges, if they have to go to these trainings that they're off, I think it's mostly summertime, set up for student training.
So of course they go off into grooming camp.
And I mean, like I said, it's definitely a political training ground for these kids that are running these clubs.
Right. This has a lot less to do with education, though, it feels like, than it does,
indoctrination.
Right. Indoctrination.
It's access. It's access to children. And that's why I'm having a problem with it.
They're upset at drag queens reading books, but they're okay with shady organizations funded by politicians to come into your school and take your kids for the summer and teach them what? But because it'll own the lids,
and
okay
I'm not even saying that there should be none of these clubs across the country. I'm not even saying that.
Agreed.
I am saying, because I do believe in free speech and I believe in our rights as, citizens and so forth. But what I don't agree to is how this is being presented. It was presented that way at the memorial service as, this is our mission. We're going to get it out there. And I just feel compelled to make people understand that it's not what it's being presented.
No.
It's very similar to that packaging of Make America Great Again.
Yep.
And yet here we are. America is not so great right now. And if people think that it is, it's because they're blind to the stuff that is happening and hurting people. I just had a friend that got deported. So that's kind of like fresh on my mind right now.
Wonderful.
Yeah, he's at Alligator Alley and he's going to be deported. So, this is not making America great again. Not a criminal.
No. And you mentioned earlier about your friend came to you and says that like the pretty bow and wrapping they put on this is faith and blah blah blah. But we got to admit that their faith is completely incorrect. They believe in white Jesus, which doesn't exist. I mean, they're even saying stuff like Charlie Kirk died for our sins, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
They've rejected the teachings of Jesus completely. They won't even recognize that Jesus was a Palestinian. You know what I mean? It's their entire belief system is wrong.
Well, I'm speaking as a Christian. I have been a Christian my entire life. And what I'm seeing done in the name of Christianity is not what Christianity is supposed to be.
No.
You can have your beliefs, you can have your unacceptance of certain things, but you don't create harm based on what your belief system is or what you read in the Bible. The Bible can be interpreted so many different ways. And for them to say that they have the only interpretation of what something means is fundamentally not Christian in my mind. So I don't have a problem with a Christian group coming into a school. I think it's a mixture of, the separation of church and state. So it's a kind of a slippery slope. But because of that, if you had like a Christian club, we had something called Good News Clubs in our elementary schools when I was teaching. So if you're going to allow a Good News Club, are you going to allow a Satanist club? Are you going to allow a Sharia law club? I mean, how do you...
It's funny you say that,
how do you justify that?
Someone on Instagram just said she wishes they had an atheist club. And I'm like, shit, I wish they did too, but not in the 90s when Satanic Panic was at its height. But to your point, actually, let's take it the next step further. They'll always allow a, quote, Christian club, but are you sure they'd allow a Jewish club? Are you sure they'd allow a Buddhist club? What about Shinto? What about Confucianism?
Right.
Confucianism, like, you know what I mean? Right. Like, where does it stop? And they would say, well, now you're being ridiculous. And that's when you know their true motives. Yeah. Because it isn't ridiculous to think that there should be a club for every religion.
That's the age-old battle of separation of the two. And, the other side believes that the founding fathers did not intend to have a separation of church and state. They believe that we were built on a biblical set of rules and principles. I am a follower of the 10 Commandments. So it's not like this is totally like out of my wheelhouse. I get what Christianity is about. But saying it's the only religion, saying it is the religion that should rule a country that has proven through the years that it is no longer, if it ever was, a Christian nation. And I believe that the founding fathers actually set some things up, like 3 branches of government, to have that balance within our society so that not any one thing could take over. It's just, there's a lot of stuff that, is not known of what they would actually be doing in these clubs. And I'm all for, if it's kid driven, if it's a local sponsor. I think I mentioned before that, they have said that they'll connect them with a sponsor.
Like that. Sponsor. We were talking about that before the show. Like, so how does that work? If you don't, so normally in a club in school, you need a teacher to be a sponsor for that club or a coach or something like that.
So they've got to be doing like a database of any teachers across the country that have expressed interest or, are supportive
of a database like that.
So, but that's fundamentally flawed with the process of putting a club into a high school. It's the kids come up with it and the kids go to their current faculty and they get somebody that will go along with it.
And
I
that
mean,
is
that's
not what's
been
happening.
the history.
Well, it's all part
And
of
it
building
doesn't
a
seem like
club,
that's what's
right? The
happening.
kids,
Yeah.
like you said, the kids are supposed to take the initiative, not Turning Point USA coming in with their very specific, very targeted
Exactly.
and propagandized material.
Well, an advisor is
Um,
supposed to advise the kids in the ways that they want to build their club. They're not supposed to sit
plus,
there and go, here's all this prepared material for you.
yeah, and
No,
let's be
no,
honest.
no.
I mean, there are religious schools. If you want your kid to go to a religious school, send them to a religious school. You know what I mean? That's
Mhm.
fine. If you want them to get the Bible as basic teaching in education, that's an option. You know what I mean? But I
Mhm.
just
Well,
feel like injecting this into public schools under
I mean,
the guise of, hey, we're just, American family values, I think is just devious. It's not very
And
nice. I'll
and
say it
they
that
don't believe
way.
they don't believe that there should be anything other than the nuclear family.
yep.
Right,
And
right.
that's not the reality of what is in our public school system.
Well, this also
It's
disregards
called
science.
public. It's called public for a reason. Everyone that comes through that door, you must meet their needs. As a public school educator, I
Hmm.
can, be proud to say that I tried to do that every single year when I had classrooms. I didn't get to pick and choose based on my belief system. I didn't get to, provide materials that I wanted based on what I believed.
Your
Right.
win.
I needed to follow what the community desired for me to do in the classroom. And that was to build citizens for the community.
Well,
Well,
we all
And
know
citizens are varied.
the whole reason they wanted to dismantle the Department of Education is because the Department of Education makes sure all, like you just said, all kids, their needs are met. That was one of their
Correct.
primary purposes. So now that
Correct.
we have a WWE owner,
Oh,
um, as the head of the Department of Education, I just feel like, I don't know.
it's a circus. It
It
is.
is
It's
truly
a
a
circus.
circus. Our kids are
well,
in trouble. We're already known as a pretty damn stupid country. Um, we are not. We've been known as dumb Americans for a lot longer than Trump has been around. I can tell you.
and it's
You know what I
certainly
mean?
not better now.
But this is by design. This is not something that's happened over the last few years. Our education system has been attacked mostly by Republicans who have been constantly trying to defund our education
Yeah.
system.
Yeah.
And they want our population to be stupid because people that are not educated and
Mhm.
can't tell fact from fiction are easier to manipulate and control.
And that's why they don't want the kids starting a random club that may or may not lead to Turning Point. Turning Point wants to guide the clubs. And more proof of that this
Mhm.
isn't a system from the children, which is what they are, is
Mhm.
in this right here. This is a post.
In
Okay.
Sarasota.
And I think it's very important. I'm going to read it. Here's a productive way to respond to Charlie Kirk's assassination. Instead of letting his voice be silenced, amplify it by establishing a Turning Point chapter in every high school in Sarasota County. Every chapter needs a student leader and a teacher sponsor. If you are willing to lead a chapter or a teacher willing to sponsor a chapter, and here you go. It's telling you what each of these high schools in the district need. Do they have student leaders? Do they have teacher sponsors? And this is a perfect example of this is pre-organization.
They're
This
telling
That's
you
isn't
how to run.
recruiting.
They're
Yeah,
telling
that's
you how to run
recruiting.
the club.
Yeah, this isn't the kids going, hey, I want to start a Turning Point club. This
Exactly.
is parents going, go to your school and get teachers to sign up on this list because we want to start this club in your
And
school.
that one was like a community outlet or something that
crazy.
put that ad up.
Yeah,
Whatever
which
it is,
by the way, the
Northport
wording in
Student
it sounds
Concern.
like it was pre-approved, if you ask me.
Well, I mean, it does have their graphics and everything on there. And
Yep.
that's, I guess, my largest objection to this is that there right now is a campaign. One of their spokespeople is saying that they pledge that they will have a Turning Point club in every single high school, every single college across the
Yep.
country.
And then
That
My
high
is not
school's gonna hate my guts.
grassroots support for anything. That's saying that you have a plan, whether people like it or support it or not, that
Mhm.
you're
And
going to get it done.
here's
Right.
the big kicker to me that shows, again, I think Liz's main point is that this is not student driven because it's not based on the kids what they want.
Mhm.
Go to the Turning Point website and you find out a whole bunch of information, different packets of information.
Yep.
Here's one particular area that blew my mind. Professor watch list.
Yeah.
Look at
That's
the graphic.
actually in place. Yeah.
Unmask radical professors. So they want
Oh my
random ass people to narc on their professors for being, I guess, too woke. And that information is going to go into some shady ass database.
Right.
Again, not having to do with children, not having to do with the school they're in, really, just trying to narc on teachers, which may or may not be just following the curriculum that these people don't know they already have the right to peruse and have a say in.
Mm-hmm.
So it all goes back to the ignorance of the parents,
Mhm.
the pretend care for the kids and the students,
Right.
but it's really a prime mover trying to act out a will on all of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's on their official website.
Yep.
That is targeting educators. And Moms for Liberty has the same thing for educators. Right now, it's if educators made something negative posted about Charlie Kirk. I probably, if I was
insane
still
to me.
working, I would be on those lists, I'm sure.
Oh, for
Oh,
sure.
yeah.
You know, I would be seen as a
I have MAGA
troublemaker or
reporting me to my boss. Unfortunately for them, the emails come right to me, trying to get me fired from the VOR
Yeah.
podcast. I'm like, y'all are dumb.
Yeah.
But like, seriously, we live in a time where Fox News hosts can suggest lethal injections for homeless people and bombing the freaking UN building over an escalator mishap. But
know.
people are losing their jobs for just using his quotes. They're
Yeah.
not even disparaging anything. They're not saying anything negative about Charlie Kirk. They're like, Charlie Kirk said this, and they're like, you're fired.
Well, do we
Why?
want to look at some of those
Yeah,
quotes, Liz?
let's
Are we
look
there?
at some of that because I have a few things to share.
Now, keep
about
in
that
mind,
as
this
well.
is, again, look
Ignore
at that
that.
message that I posted from that community thing that said, instead of, what do you do to memorialize Charlie Kirk? You amplify his words.
Yeah.
So let's look at some of his words.
So this one, I had to pull him back up. I think this is one of the ones you wanted to take out, but since it's already
all
up,
right.
Charlie
Yep.
Kirk said, if somebody has had enough of your antics and has to run you over to get somewhere, they should not face any penalties. That's on peaceful
That sounds
protesters.
like governor from Florida, Ron
Yeah, well-
DeSantis, said the same thing.
This is another Charlie Kirk quote from January 23rd of 2024. If I see a black pilot, I'm going to be like, boy, I hope he's qualified. There's
That's
another
called
good one.
racism.
And I am going to address all this after you show all these.
Yep, here's one where he says, if you actually watch his trial, it's obvious Kyle Rittenhouse did nothing wrong. And then this is probably one of the worst ones. This is on black women in positions of power. You do not have the brain processing power to otherwise be taken seriously. You had to steal a white person's slot to be taken somewhat seriously. Like,
Now,
it hurts me to even read this.
I
piece of
have
shit.
Yeah,
one
yeah.
that he said specifically about one of my favorite
Jasmine.
humans on the planet, Jasmine Crockett. Charlie Kirk says, quote, Jasmine Crockett is just some circus act in that entire operation. You shouldn't take what she says seriously. It's just a joke. What she represents is very serious, which is the continued attempt to eliminate the white population in this country. While discussing the issue of redistricting congressional maps, which played out dramatically in Texas last month, Kirk said on his August 4th podcast show, the great replacement of white people is far more sinister than any redistricting project, which means the actual racism that is being perpetrated by a lot of people in this country isn't as important as a perceived threat that only seriously stupid racists have. Great.
And
Yeah,
th-
great
that's
replacement theory is insane. you know.
yeah, it's a whole theory. There's actually a camp out in I don't know
Oh,
one of
yeah.
the western states.
They're
that you can
mad.
go
These
to.
people are mad.
So let's talk about quoting Charlie Kirk because that is exactly what's happening. Is people are getting in trouble because they're posting things that he himself said, and the
Right.
pushback, particularly online, is that you're taking it out of context.
Sure.
So let's talk about context a little bit. If you say, I'm worried because that's a black pilot, I'm paraphrasing. What context on either side of that phrase would justify him saying that phrase?
Right.
There isn't any context where it would be okay to say that. If I said, let's just give an example. If I said, I hate Jews, and somebody put that out there as something that was said,
Yeah.
But in reality, what I said was, I hate people who say, I hate Jews.
Yep.
That would be taking it out of context.
Right.
It would be changing the meaning of whatever those words were that came out of my mouth.
Yep.
That's not what's happening with Charlie Kirk.
No.
Because not only is it a false flag to say that it's out of context, because there is no context where some of these things should be appropriate.
No.
You know, saying that certain people should be run over by cars or certain people should be banished from the planet.
It's not out of context.
No context. There's no context where it would be acceptable.
He once said that he would, if his daughter, his little baby girl, was raped, that he would force her to carry it to term and have birth the child, to have the baby.
Here's a great
That's not
comment.
out of context. That's disgusting.
Here's a great comment by Bewildered Bunny. When I hear someone try to wash his words in nuance, which is a great phrase, by the way, I make them say it. For example, Charlie Kirk believed women were only good for breeding, but he didn't deserve to die. They get real quiet real quick. I mean, that's the same point. Use his words in any context you want. Do they work? Do they sound less shitty?
But see, I think that's another thing that people don't recognize about Charlie Kirk is he made these young men who may be going through some, college, of course you explore your sexuality, and he's basically going around telling all these impressionable white men, hey, it's not your fault you're getting rejected, it's the women's fault. You know what I mean? Like, seriously, that's what he does. He goes around and says,
here's the hint, boys, it really is your fault.
Right. Instead of developing a personality and teaching them, how to be better with women, they're literally just saying, it's not your fault. There's nothing wrong with you. Well, it's really the women's fault.
It's
Charlie Kirk
filling that
women.
vacuum, right?
Yes.
It's filling that vacuum of young men who honestly don't know their place in society.
Right.
No, it's the Andrew Tate syndrome.
And that does have to be addressed. Exactly. That does have to be addressed. And there's a whole, I could go all off about, the background of the feminist movement and how the country didn't set things up in the right way so that everybody would come out ahead. But that's a whole nother show. But I understand where this group of, as she said, lost boys are coming from right now. We've just had a pandemic where they had no social interactions.
Right.
They are online. They're doing
Chronically
games
online.
instead of being out and about. So there's all these factors that play into it. And, kudos for the far right because they did see that vacuum.
Well, they're nothing if not observant and patient.
Yeah.
And evil.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
This is right up their alley for sure.
So what else do we got?
It's definitely. So those are the things. If people say taken out of context, what context would it be okay for you to make a racist remark in?
Right.
Sorry.
And the other part is I always advise people to look for patterns. So if you look at Charlie Kirk's full portfolio of everything that he's ever said, you see patterns of the types of things that he has put forth as his beliefs.
Right.
And yes, there is some racism built in there. Yes, there is misogyny built in there because it's a pattern. Taken out of context means that you just off the cuff say, oh, I don't think women should be working outside the home one time. If you say it one time, then maybe you could say, yeah, that was really taken out of context. He really didn't mean that. But he over and over and over again repeated all of the same information.
Oh, yeah.
So that pattern supports that this was him. This was him and his way of thinking. So,
and this is with the education piece of it. Like, again, I feel it's targeted because we know about Project 2025 and what they are doing is right up Project 2025's alley. Want to control the education system. They want to control the youth. They want to reprogram everything with this country, which is why I keep telling everybody this is not a 2 to 4 year problem.
This is a 2 to 3 generation problem.
Right. These people want to take over indefinitely and never give back power. And how do they do that? They have to target the people in the education system and people that will be in the education system in the future.
Yep. So I've shared some of my concerns about, some untruths that I think are being presented, about some pieces of the structure that I have some doubts about, how, national is still like over all of what these chapters would do. That's a little problematic. And I have to say, after digging in, I did find some surprising information along the path. I found that Turning Point USA actually funded buses to take people to Washington for January 6th.
Well, that sounds political.
And
sounds treasonous.
I mean, I'm not, I mean, I had, resources on all of this, and that they were getting money out to pay for some of the teachers, I wish, some of the speakers at the January 6th rally. Now, there still are some people that still believe that January 6th was just a rally and that it was fine, but we all saw it unfold on TV. So we know that it was an insurrection. So Turning Point, who is going to be given unfettered access to your children, was actually part of January 6th. Mm-hmm. So just file that away.
And financially involved, apparently, by chartering buses.
So the things that they're doing now, I've been reading all day with updates and things, and they want to put Charlie up as a recruitment tool for the military.
Yep.
That's kind of ridiculous. He's not someone that ever served.
No. He's not even a political figure. He is a podcaster.
And so, maybe
that's like them doing it for one of us. Like, stop.
It would be smart of them maybe to, monopolize or
of course they're gonna
take advantage of it.
Yeah, they're gonna make his death lucrative for whoever they can, because they're by nature grifters and soulless monsters. But to use it to then get people to join the military that might otherwise do other things is like another level of.
But it's still targeting impressionable young people that would normally be in college. It's still that 17 to 19-year-old age group that these people are going after.
And the thing is, I am Charlie. You've seen that on the internet. I am Charlie, or be like Charlie. Really? Do we actually know what Charlie was like, that we're putting him up as this role model for kids when he didn't really finish a whole lot of education? He was a very smart man, I believe. He was very well equipped in debate, but he wasn't always successful at it. They only, like you said earlier, they only put up the clips that make him look good. And so military recruitment. The other thing is they want to mint a coin with his face on it.
That's insane.
We have coins of past leaders in our country, and they want to put him in that same category. Really?
Before a black woman,
a black woman.
I mean, we only have one woman on our money, and that's on the Susan B. Anthony coin.
Susan B. Anthony. Nobody uses those.
One of my favorite coins to collect, by the way.
Yeah. So it's kind of that argument as they are across the country trying to rename streets. Charlie Kirk Boulevard or Turning Point Boulevard.
You know what they should name them? The Charlie Kirk Dead End.
There are people getting Charlie Kirk tattoos.
Well, tattoo I can even see. That's a personal choice.
They're getting Turning Point USA tattoos. That's good.
Yeah, you're right. No, I mean, sure, get that if you want it, but like, whatever.
But to name a street when you have, police officers that are losing their lives, local heroes are being overlooked in order to put something in his name.
Yep.
And people don't even know him. In my own county, they were trying to rename a street.
They don't know
He's not from. They don't know who he is.
They're comparing him on Fox News and other places. They're comparing him to Martin Luther King. You know what I mean? So people that only watch Fox News, but like if you're not like us, say like you live in Florida, you're average everyday person, and you just consume right-wing media because you're a Republican, you are going to think that Charlie Kirk was a saint.
Yeah.
You're going to think that he was white Jesus.
All the stuff
a political organizer
put out there.
That's what you're going to believe if you don't do any digging, because we have so much propaganda in our national media anymore, in our corporate media, that if you don't do any research, or if you have no media literacy, you're kind of cooked in this country anymore, especially with the AI coming out now. It's going to be a problem. It's going to be more and more of a problem if we don't get our heads around this.
So, things like the Congress has just pushed through to have a Memorial Day for Charlie Kirk. Really? We don't have one for Sojourner Truth. We don't have one for Harriet Tubman. Where are those days?
They wanted to get rid of
all of this. They're trying to get rid of Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday celebration.
And they're trying to get rid of Black History Month and Juneteenth.
Like, are we living in the upside down here?
Yes, we are. We are absolutely living in the prequel to idiocracy.
I want people to understand that It's a very slick package. It looks like it's a faith-driven package. I hope that I have shown you that no, it's a money and political-driven package, and it's slick. I mean, everyone loves, the U.S. presentation, right? To be a patriot. I mean, that's
The red,
how
white,
we're
and blue
brought up. The red,
pitch.
white, and blue, and when that's being used to cover for something that is not actually what it's being presented as,
Right.
that's really disarming.
I mean, it's fraud.
So
It's fraud,
basically
is
what
it
I'm
is.
trying to say is these are not the good guys.
No.
These are not the good guys rushing in to make our schools places that are better.
No.
They are trying to use access to youth. And
Like,
I can
you have
never...
that- Did you pull that slide up with this kids holding the signs? This one is
there you go.
crazy.
Here you go. All right, so they got the critical thinking one. Yay, only you could prevent socialism. Wait, that sounds politically charged.
Right.
Ask
What does
those
that have
four
to do with
kids.
school?
Ask those 4 kids what socialism means. They probably don't know.
Right.
Ask them to define democracy, socialism, and what a republic is.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't even realize that lightning bolt in that American, what was it called? American Comeback, the Eye, that is actually a SS
It's the same
lightning
graphic.
bolt. It's a Nazi lightning bolt.
Yeah,
They
I
use
just
it-
read
they
that.
use
That the
a lot.
lightning bolt is used.
Yeah, because the SS is actually 2 lightning bolts.
Yep.
And people don't realize that. But they use Nazi imagery in a lot of this stuff. And again, like you said, Liz, like how many kids... I didn't even know about socialism. And I just learned about it over the last 4 years. And I'm 48 years old now. I can't imagine that a lot of 12, 13, 15, 18-year-old kids are out there just learning why socialism bad, capitalism good. Like, it doesn't happen in schools. But that's not an educational agenda. That is, like Mike said, a political agenda. If you're fighting against socialism as part of your re-education
then you're
plan,
fighting against your police department, your fire department, your street maintenance.
Right,
Those
everything.
are all for the good of the whole.
Let's think about it in simple terms. Let's look at the one on the right that's in Cinnamon Toast Crunch font. Hi, stop being a
How
socialist.
dare you
Thanks.
use that font?
Thanks.
How about it says, hi, stop denying science, thanks. Or,
And
hi,
that's
math
another
is great.
thing. Like,
Or, hi, basic reading skills.
are they going to
awesome.
start teaching that the Earth is flat in these schools? Because
That is a viable
they hate
theory.
science. These religious people hate science. You know what I mean? Are we going to start?
I wouldn't even say it's religious people as
No, it's
as
just
a
religious
ignorance.
extremists.
I will say extremists
Yes.
will not
Ignorant
listen to
extremists.
science. Yeah.
That's
Right.
it.
Yeah.
So, Liz, what can people do?
Yeah, so let's end with that.
We
It's
got a
very
few slides and some
overwhelming.
options.
It's very overwhelming, right? Okay, so how do you fight this when you know that there is millions of dollars being pushed into this effort? Then there are some things that you can do on your local level to not necessarily stop the club, but to inform people that you know what's up. And that they're not going to come in and either indoctrinate or, lead your kids in some path that you're not supportive of. So, you need to really find out, first of all, what your district policies are for clubs. I did come across an example where not only this was at a school board meeting in, I don't remember where, I watch so many of them every day, but a group of Moms for Liberty draped t-shirted women were standing up and they were calling for a Turning Point USA or one of these clubs that we've been talking about. And the answer that they received from the district was that their policy and practice is that clubs have to be submitted at the beginning of the school year and follow that procedure.
Oh, good.
So it's very fairly done. Everybody follows that same rule. These Moms for Liberty people not only did not have kids standing up and speaking to the school board saying we want a club, there was not a kid in sight, but then they had the nerve to say, isn't this something that you should break the rules for? And I'm
because
paraphrasing.
it's so they take
It's
the
so wonderful that
delusions of
you need
grandeur.
to change your rules.
In
Now,
my
what's going to
opinion-
happen there, I don't know. Maybe they will change their rules, but that should be a red flag. If you can't follow the rules that are in place and you want rules changed specifically just for one little thing, that's a problem. That's working against the concept of democracy.
Yep.
And unfortunately, that has been the history of Moms for Liberty is
Yeah.
do exactly as we say, within
So,
school districts.
What else we have?
So find out, first of all, what your board practices and policies are, because it could be that you can keep a club out because they didn't go in with the application soon enough. So that's your first action. A next one is send your concerns to board members. Even if you just have questions, send them in and say, I'm reading a lot across the country that, like in Florida, our person in Florida is saying you will have these clubs in every high school. Parents need to be alarmed with that kind of a top-down push that there will be clubs.
Again, that's not a bunch of kids. It's not like all the kids in the United States public school system are demanding that every school has this.
Correct. It isn't, your PTAs that are taking a stance of we want to have this in every single school. These are politicians that are making decisions that say these will be in all schools. I believe that Oklahoma said that. Of course, he now stepped down, the superintendent there. But he said, yes, there will be a turning point in every single school. Whether or not they'll follow through, I don't know. So find out what the policies are in your district, first of all, to see if this club even follows the rules. Because, most people of good hearts believe in following rules. And reach out to those school board members, reach out to your school administrators, ask your questions, express your concerns, say, I'm concerned because it's Moms for Liberty chapter chair that is pushing for this club at the school. Mm-hmm. Moms for Liberty is a political organization. Don't let anybody fool you away from that.
Yeah.
And why isn't it the kids that are pushing for something? Now, there are some kids have been very, very moved by the information that has been put out there. And I don't have a problem with that. If a kid wants to start up a chapter and they can do it, without all of that top-down pressure, go for it. I hope that somehow we have American clubs coming up, that somebody will invent that. And those could be in every school. But it has to come from the students to be really an authentic approach to clubs at schools. Yep. You can contact any local officials with your same concerns. Oftentimes those issues might come before your city councils, your county commissions. They need to be informed about what's happening within their communities. And if you have concerns, express them. Share this podcast out. We've given a lot of information tonight. And believe me, there's another 2 hours worth of information that we could share. So if you have the time, just research some of the stuff yourself and share out information so that people aren't lulled into the feeling of, well, it's just a little club that wants to come in and fight for the family and fight for good within our schools, because there's more to it than that. There really is. And share any information about Turning Point on all of your socials. That is really, really important. And that's how we're going to get this information out across America.
That's how they
It is how they are doing it.
So we have to do the same thing.
Yep. So to any of your local officials, to your state level officials even.
I have
share your voice.
Yeah. I have a comment on Instagram. He seems to think that we are mixing socialism with national socialism. No, we're not.
Just let that go.
Totally different thing.
That's not a thing. That's not
right.
a thing.
Right.
I know what he's referring to, and he totally missed the point of.
Right. Exactly. That's why I said you've been here for 3 fucking seconds. Just please shut up and listen for once. I hate when people do that.
Another option for people to do: start writing letters to your editors at your local
that
news
still
outlet.
has some weight to it.
It does still have some weight. They are published online typically. Sometimes you can even submit them online, which makes it easy. Any way that you can start a conversation across your area is what is going to prevent something that might not be what it's being presented as from coming into your schools. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying that, the concepts of family and faith and country are bad concepts. I just don't think that we should have like this false prophet type approach to it. Right. I think that it should be genuine. I think that kids should be proud to be Americans, and they should be looking for resources. If they can find it from Turning Point to have a club that's really going to push all of their kids on their campus to be, great, strong Americans, great. I'm all for that. But if it's pushing them into becoming Republicans,
it's
that's
pushing
an
them
agenda.
into a life of hate.
To hate groups,
Everybody.
that's an agenda.
Yeah.
So I don't
hate
mind
everybody.
the concept, but to me, it's not truthful, and that's what we need to address.
Right.
So we may not be able to stop these clubs. In all honesty, if they're following the rules and they can get in on the ground level and put these clubs together and put them in schools, more power to you. If you have children, check to see if it's a permission slip type status where parents have to sign off if their kids are going to be in a. I've been told the two different ways that no, it's not required, or yes, it is required. And I really have mixed feelings on that because whatever, but because this is such a big push in, I think that it should require permission slips.
Especially because this is more political than anything, I think.
Yeah. And my overall message for tonight, and I will end with that really, is that my belief is that our kids are being manipulated right now.
Yes.
And whether it has a thread of goodness in it or not, I've given you some information that should be alarming about the connections to what's actually being put through under this guise of Turning Point USA. And I encourage all your listeners, anybody that listens to this beyond tonight, pay attention, find out what's going on, stay involved. Right. If you are sending your kid in and your kid is really moving away from what your belief system is, yes, you need to be involved. We've heard that argument from the LGBTQ plus clubs, right? And they're prompting parents to stay involved and find out what they're telling them and so forth. So why wouldn't you do that same approach with this one? Because it has a prettier flag?
Yep.
We need to be involved with what's happening to our children. And from what I've researched, I don't like the looks of this.
No. Chuck Bob actually hit the nail on the head there. It's Hitler Youth to me. It's got that kind of vibe. This is Christian nationalism, okay? It's not even Christianity that they're trying to teach or put in these schools. It's Christian nationalism. It's a dystopian, extremist sect of Christianity. Like Mike and I like to say that we don't knock Christianity as a whole because some people actually believe in the teachings of Jesus, but this is some completely distorted version of that that doesn't even resemble anything Christian.
See, and I am going to again stand for the atheist in the room. I could have a discussion with someone about religion all day. But as an American, I still believe you have a right to practice it so long as the practicing of that religion doesn't infringe on the rights of anyone else.
Right.
That's it. It's not that hard.
And I believe that's what the forefathers meant.
I agree. And you know why I know that? Because I read the Federalist Papers, and they pretty much tell you.
Yeah, I mean, if they wanted us to be a Christian nation, they would have made us one. What a concept. Right. They literally could have did it right then and there. But the reason they didn't is because they couldn't even agree on which version of Christianity to make us. I mean, seriously, like they were all different sects of Christianity.
Yeah, but that's the beauty of it. That's why they didn't choose one.
Right, exactly. So even Christianity has different versions.
And basically, the Pilgrims left England so that they weren't forced into, I think it was the Church of God over in England.
Like
that. Something like that. That's why they left, because they were being mandated a particular thing.
Yeah.
That's why they left for freedom.
So, on that note, that's all we have for today. Liz, thank you so much.
All that research.
That's a lot of research. It's a deep rabbit hole, this Turning Point USA. The more layers you peel back, the uglier it gets.
Yvonne made a great point that just wrapped up everything we said today. Speaking of taking something out of context, Christian nationalism is absolutely taking Christianity out of context.
Right. Like that is quite...
Absolutely.
And
there's something wrong when they put a politician or they put a podcaster who goes to colleges in comparison to Jesus Christ.
That's insane.
Comparison to God.
That's insane. I know. Like
that should be a red flag for all of us. And I'm speaking to the Christians right now.
Yeah, and I've
Take
watched
a
the
look.
videos.
This is called false prophets and false gods.
Wasn't there a
Right.
story involved golden calf that I
Correct.
remember being an atheist
Correct.
and still know the Bible better than most Christians?
The only people I've seen come anywhere close to actually kissing a golden calf was the golden Donald Trump statue. They quite literally got their own golden calf.
Yeah, that was a trend.
Only in real life he's orange. Anyway, thank you guys all for watching today. Thank you for watching this morning. That was something I will hope to do more in the near future, that pop-up live when Donald Trump just starts rambling. I actually had a lot of fun just hanging out with everybody and just raging on what he was saying. But just to end on kind of a brighter note, again, as far as today goes, Donald Trump basically told our military leaders that Americans are the enemy. We are the greatest threat, Antifa's. But let's not forget that the military leadership takes an oath to the Constitution, not to Donald Trump, nor any other president in U.S. history. They take an oath to just the Constitution.
Amen.
And upholding that Constitution.
Yeah.
So that would probably explain why that room was dead silent. So we'll see how everything turns out. I'm putting a lot of faith in our military. I really am.
Hey, isn't Bewildered Bunny at the Super Bowl next year? I see that.
In the
that's
comments.
bad.
Bewildered Bunny.
I have to look at Bewildered Bunny.
I
Gonna
want
be
to watch
performing.
MAGA crash out about that. All right, guys.
And I just wanted to add at the end, because I neglected to do that at the beginning, but who am I to even be here and be on this podcast? So I am a retired kindergarten teacher. So I'm not some wacko out there, pounding the streets. People have known me in my role as an educator for years. And my goal is to protect children in any way, shape, and form that I can. So I started Stop Moms for Liberty because there was harm being done to children. Talk about book bans and, all of the different things that were going on. So I'm not just talking, off the cuff. This is something that I do know about, and I'm concerned for our children. I hope that some of you will be too.
2 years ago, when we first started doing this podcast, you were one of our first guests. And that's actually one of the first topics I think we started with was book bans.
Yep.
And now we're at indoctrinating kids through Christian nationalism.
I'd rather
I would actually prefer the book banning at this point.
It's less insidious.
Jesus. Anyway, love you all. Have a good rest of your day. I'll be back on doing a live stream on what's today? Tuesday, Friday. I'll be back on Friday at 8 o'clock. And then don't forget, we have No Kings 2.0 coming up in just over 2 weeks.
Yes.
Mike and I will be back in New York City together,
Very
running the streets of downtown New York City for that. And we are going to be wearing our brand new merch, which is Make Antifa Great Again. I don't have the logo pulled up.
My dad was Antifa. He was a World War II soldier.
Heck yeah.
That's right. I don't know if you saw our shirts, Liz. I found an original Antifa logo, an anti-fascist logo from back in the 1930s and 40s, and we have it out now. We use it as a logo for our shirts, so I think it's fitting. But yeah, if you guys want to check out our merch or follow us on Instagram or our social media platforms, please go to our link tree. Stop Moms for Liberty's information is also on our channel page. It is, I believe, in our link tree as well. So if you want any information on organizing or how to fight back, please get in touch with them. Love you all. Have a good rest of your day. And
Thank you all very much.
Talk to you soon. Have a good night.
Sounds good.